Well, hey there. Welcome to Mental Health Monday, where we give you the tools you need to get to the top of your mental health game personally and professionally by clearing any subconscious blocks that are in the way of you becoming the conscious leader you always knew you could be. So, how are you? And I am your host, Kanae Corder, and I am the world's number one financial hypnotherapist specializing in loneliness and imposter syndrome, which is what we're going to talk about today. But not before I give you a couple of recaps. So, we've been setting the foundation over these last couple weeks. And Mental Health Monday is really here to build upon what you already know. You know, you've tried some things, you've tried to overcome some of the things blocking you, but you've been doing it on a conscious level. But it's your subconscious brain that is in the way. So, we talked about resistance and we talked about it in a deeper, different way than what you're probably used to hearing resistance talked about, especially in association with therapy and mental health. We talked about managing your emotions, the difference between managing your emotions and suppressing your emotions, two different things, but also what happens when you do suppress your emotions. We talked about the four negative, the most common, I should say, the four most common negative emotions that conscious leaders feel. And one of those was imposter syndrome. So we talked about the loneliness, the insomnia, the burnout, and today we're talking about imposter syndrome. So if you didn't see those other videos, go back and watch them because they're really good and it's going to tie some things together from this video. But let's talk about imposter syndrome. Have you ever wondered if you were experiencing imposter syndrome? Have you ever maybe witnessed somebody else experience imposter syndrome? Maybe you could tell they were faking it until they made it, right? Fake it till you make it. Well, we'll talk about that in just a second. But really, how do you overcome imposter syndrome if you're experiencing it? So, some of the common programs that you probably have running in your subconscious brain is that fake it till you make it, right? You've been told to just fake it till you make it. That life is all about just doing what you can do until you can do what you want to do. Well, instead of fake it till you make it, we say act as if. And that is a shift in the language because a lot of what we teach in our program is just to shift your language and tame your brain. You'll find that taming your brain is really about speaking to your brain in a way that your brain can understand and process on a subconscious level because you've been talking to your brain consciously and your brain just doesn't react or respond because it needs you to really get down into your subconscious brain. But we're not taught how to do that, and so that's why I'm sharing this information with you so that you can you can share it as well, and you'll know what to do and how to move through life and clear those programs that have been imprinted in you, like that fake it till you make it. And when you say fake it till you make it, really subconsciously, what you're saying is, I don't feel safe being myself. What you're saying is that I'm not good enough or I'm too much. Maybe you've been told that. And so you create a character that you think will be loved or liked or accepted. And I can say that many of the leaders that I work with, I'm too much is a statement that they feel they've been told a lot, like they need to bring it down a notch, that kind of thing. That people can't, like, I can't handle you. I just can't handle you. So if you are one of those people who have been told this over and over and over again, then you may know what I mean. And you may feel like you have to change for the people around you so that you can be accepted, liked, and loved. And another thing is feeling like you were a mistake, like you weren't on purpose. And that comes from programs like you're getting on my nerves. So if you've been told that over and over again, you're getting on my nerves, then maybe you believe that you were a mistake and you weren't wanted. And then there's I don't know who I am. This is one of the things that leaders say to me a lot. It's most likely because they have to have been somebody else for so long that they don't know who they are because they have lost themselves. And so in the South, there's a saying, it's not how you feel, it's how you look. So it's like you have to put on that happy face, grin and bear it. How many times have you heard that? Grin and bear it, just like kind of white knuckle it. So those are some of the programs that run and get lodged in our brains. And then there are emotions that come with being an imposter, like really feeling like anger, but not being able to express it. So maybe you put it into a joke. That's imposter. And but a lot of times the imposters get moody because they don't know themselves, they don't know their feelings, they can't be themselves, and it makes you moody because you resent the other people for not allowing you to be yourself. And I have this saying that lack of self-expression leads to depression. So a lot of times with imposter syndrome, you'll go about it for a while doing this fake thing and being this fake person, but eventually you're going to crash, and it brings that depression. So sometimes you'll see a lot of confusion that comes with imposter syndrome, poor boundaries, which either you let people cross your boundaries or you're the type of person that crosses people's boundaries. You'll also see imposter syndrome. They are like almost never alone. They always want to have people around them because if they're alone, then they have to revert to being themselves, which they have been taught not to like. And so when they're around people, people teach them how to be. Oh, well, who do I need to be for you? And who do I need to be for you? And so that character comes up. And sometimes they have two or three characters inside of them. But there is a dominant character usually, but they know who they have to be in order to get love. And I'm going to tell you when we talk about the root, how that happened. And so that resentment comes up. You can be self-critical, the anxiety, even the depression, and just like always people around you and never having that time to recharge. So related challenges that can come with imposter syndrome can be drug addiction, especially socially. So maybe you don't do it on your own or by yourself, but socially you do it. Being a follower, like it's really related to imposter syndrome, really being a follower and really not being the leader that you know you can be or want to be. Doing things for effect, that's a big challenge of the imposter syndrome. Not even doing it because it feels good to you, but how you think people are going to react to it. So you're doing it for effect. Sometimes I might be insulting somebody because you want to get that effect out of them. Because maybe, like I'm going to talk about this in root, but maybe when you were a child, that got you the attention or acceptance. So you did it. So doing things for effect, just becoming a different person everywhere you go. That's a big challenge for imposter syndrome because it's exhausting and that's how you get burnout. So overspending like retail therapy, that's a challenge a lot of times that's associated with imposter syndrome, and just overindulging overall. And of course, lying. So those are some of the related challenges. Physical illnesses that can sometimes be comorbid, or you can see come with these mental, because mental and physical are very closely related. We don't talk about it a lot because the mental is not as science based as the physical is, and nowadays they're doing more research. I don't think it's necessary because the mental is so different from person to person. Because if just think about it, I have brother and sister, and I have a stepsister, and even though we're raised by the same parents, and of course my stepsister has an additional mother and we have an additional father, but we are raised by the same parents, we have completely different reactions to that lifestyle, to what happened, those two divorces and then the marriage. And it just is different life. And what happens to, just think about this, what happened to me when I was 7, my sister was 11. So the way that her subconscious brain observed and interpreted that was different than the way that my subconscious brain observed and interpreted that. So a lot of in mental health is a lot of theory and philosophy that we play out, even in Tame Your Brain therapy. That's a lot of theory and philosophy, but we focus a lot on existential therapy and hypnosis, which not a lot of that is as science-based because it's individual. And that's what I love about it so much. It's individual. And so let's go to the physical illnesses. So headaches, skin disorders, like really, really not be, sometimes acne, all of the skin disorders, not, and I'm not saying that every single time you have any of these physical illnesses, they are associated with imposter syndrome. Think about it the other way. If you are experiencing imposter syndrome, then you're going to be seeing some of these other physical illnesses like headaches, like skin disorders, like heart attacks, because there's so much stress being someone else, not being yourself. You can even see genital problems or disorders like erectile dysfunction, or even like cancers in the genital areas, and that's both male and female. Stomach problems. That could be digestion, sometimes even cancer in the stomach because of the resentment and the anger that you're holding in. That it shows up a lot in the stomach. And then eye problems. You're really not seeing the world the way it is. You're really not seeing yourself the way it is. And so your eyes can often have some challenges. And then lower back pain. Lower back pain, when it comes to anger and resentment, a lot of times that's where men hold it and women hold it more in the stomach, but both of them can, be, and that's when you are not being yourself. And that midlife crisis will come after you've had that back pain for so long, and you've had that stomach pain for so long, and then your mental is just like, I got to do something about this. And so it kind of gives you that catastrophic event that makes you say, I got to change my life and I've got to start being myself. And I knew a guy, not our client, but I knew a guy who quit his job as an attorney and just like worked at a restaurant because he decided he wanted to cook, but he had to start from ground zero. And he didn't go to culinary school. He just said, I'm quitting my job. I'm going to work at this restaurant. So that was a midlife crisis, but he didn't want to do the attorney thing. He became an attorney for his parents. So that is the root. I'm sorry, that's the programming, the emotions, the related challenges, the physical illness. Let's talk about some of the do-it-yourself remedies that I see. Drinking, drinking a lot of alcohol, coffee, some of that helps you need that boost, right? To become that person that you want to be. We already talked about drugs that helps you get that courage to be the person and put on the show. Sometimes there is that like really just pouring yourself into uh purposely being different. Do you understand what I mean? Like you'll say, oh, I know what will, not that you've done this, I know what I can do to get their attention, right? So you go over and beyond. And some of that do it yourself remedy is to get people to like you by becoming who they want you to be. And by becoming who they want you to be, and you get that acceptance, but it's temporary, then you kind of do more research and say, okay, that wasn't the person, I got it wrong. Then who would they like me to be now? So you make some more shifts and some more adjustments. So that do it yourself remedy is to just adjust, 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 adjust. That is also tiring. Have you felt that? And what if you could just be yourself? But I know you don't know who that is because you lost yourself so long ago. Okay, so let's talk about the root when it comes to imposter syndrome. So, the root of all of this is that very, very early on, you had to become whoever your caretaker asked you to get love. Because from 0 to 7, all we need is to survive. And the way that we survive is to get someone to love us enough to clothe us, feed us, nurture, care for us. And as long as you were able to do that, then you'll stay alive. And so you found the people who were caring for you, they told you what they wanted you to do in order to be loved. And so you did it. Now, sometimes what I see with imposter syndrome in the background from 0 to 7, somewhere in there were like maybe a lot of family secrets. Like, oh, there are all these secrets, but the family doesn't talk about them. You can't share them. maybe there maybe there's something that happened to you at a very young age, 0 to 7 mostly, and you were ashamed of that and you kind of suppressed that. That could be a sexual trauma, that could have been abuse, it doesn't matter, something that made you ashamed and you became somebody else. We did have a patient who was really poor, and he lied and said that he wasn't, and so that he became an imposter pretty early in life because he was 5 years old lying about, his father being an attorney or something like that, and mother being a doctor. I don't know. He described a very affluent family, which was not his. And so, um, other root causes are when your parents are keeping up appearances, or your caretakers are keeping up appearances, when they're always making sure that you have to have on exactly the right clothes, right? They're like, go change those clothes are dirty. Or they're just always making sure like everything is in place. The appearance is nice, but what is at home is not. What is at home is a mess, it's a wreck. But what they show to the public is totally different. And that creates the imposter syndrome. Or if the parents say, don't tell your mother, or don't tell your father, if they're that's another their version of family secrets, where it's just like inside the family there's even secrets, or don't tell mom and dad, like all of these little secrets where there's no honesty. And when you can't say how you feel, when you've been told don't cry. So a lot of times you get imposter syndrome from men because they've been told don't cry, like that's for girls, all of those things they have to pretend, like maybe they don't want to pretend like are they are as in love with their wife as they are. They want to practice, like pretend as if they're just so hard, and they're not affected by her love, but really deep down inside they have such an affinity for her, but they will dare not say it because maybe that's not manly. Yeah, these are stories that happen over and over and over again. So let's wrap this up with a little field work. And I want to tell you a little bit about, so we've been talking about Max, our patient Max. And, just to recap, Max was grew up with parents that kind of like to keep up appearances. The mother worked at a private school. Max actually did not see his his father for a really long time. Father left, or they got divorced when he was like 2, and but he had to become who his mother wanted him to be. His mother was the type of mother who says like, you're the man of the house now, that kind of thing. So he had to grow up fast. But the mother was a private school teacher, and a lot of the parents that the kids go to the school, they were affluent, and so the mother wanted to try and keep up appearances, so she was always faking it until she made it. And she even bought Max something and then gave it away and to the kids at the school, and like he always felt last to his mother. She had a master's degree, a lot of her colleagues had PhDs, so she never felt like she measured up, and she put a lot of that pressure on Max. So some of that was because of pressure that she grew up with, right? So we always want to blame our parents for the stuff that's happened to us, but our parents had parents, and those parents had parents. So this is just it's perpetuated, but it didn't start with you, but it can stop with you. You don't have to pass it down to your children if you decide to have them, or any of the young ones in your life that you affect. Because just like Max, what we discovered when we were working with Max is that he was blaming his mother for a lot. And he really had to let go and forgive and just say, is it okay for me to be okay, even though what happened to me was not okay? What she did, she violated me as a child, like making me lie to people and, making me keep up these appearances and not letting me be myself. I, yeah, he wanted to play football. She made him play violin instead. That's not the violinist is a completely different person than a football player, right? And maybe he wouldn't have gone pro or anything, but at least he would have gotten that out of his system and been himself. But instead, he had to pretend like he liked the violin because that to his mother was classy. And that made her feel like she measured up and that she was a good parent. So he had to forgive her. And maybe that's what you have to do in order to become the person that you really know you could be, the conscious leader that's deep down inside of you, but you've become this subconscious leader, the leader that is working off of hurt and shame and disappointment and unfair expectations. And you've taken all of that stuff your mom or dad or even grandparents did to you, and you pass it down to your team, because that's what you're doing. You're treating your team as if they hurt you, but they didn't. You're treating your wife as if she hurt you, or your spouse as if that's the person that hurt you and it wasn't. Long time ago, when you were just a little one, you had to become somebody, and you did it for love. And then you keep doing it again and again and again and again. Why? Because you never got love for changing and becoming somebody else. So then why do you keep doing it? That's why doing the same thing, expecting a different result, is not the definition of insanity. It's the definition of humanity. We all do it. We all do the same thing, expecting a different result, because the brain goes towards familiar and away from unfamiliar. And what's familiar to you is to pretend like you're somebody else, even though you're not. What's familiar to you is to give yourself or give another person more power over you than you have over yourself. That's what's familiar to you. But that's unacceptable now, because now you know a different way. Now you know that you no longer want to feel this way. So here's what I want you to do. I want to give you a little field work. Let's talk about it. So when it comes to being yourself, you're going to have to know that some people will like you, some people will not like you. So what now? You're still going to be yourself. That's a great thing about being yourself. You already know that some people are going to like you and some people are not going to like you. And you don't have to change to try and figure out, because it's going to happen anyway. Even if you shift and change and try to be this imposter, then some people are going to like you and some people are not. And so what? So then, if you already know that, right? If you already know that some are going to like you and some are not going to like you, then what should you do? You should just be yourself, because any way it go, imposter or not, some will like you, some will not. Done and done. Easy peasy. You can do that. So maybe you don't know who you are. I get it. But if you do, then start being yourself. And this is how you know. You're going to get this like icky feeling. That's my, yes, technical term. I love using it. You're going to get this icky feeling when you're not being yourself. Look for that icky feeling. And when it comes, notice it. You might not be able to change it right away. Just notice it. But then sometimes you're going to get this yummy feeling. Like, just feels so good to be myself. Just feels so good to be me, right? When you feel that yummy feeling, go with it. Go with it. Go with it. Notice it and do it over and over and over again. And you will be so proud of yourself. You will, I promise. So then here's the other thing I want you to do is ask yourself, how do I want to show up as a leader? How do I want to show up as a leader? And really answer that question for yourself. How do I want to show up as a leader? Whether it's the leader in your family, the leader in your business, the leader, right, of yourself, right? Leader, you are. Leader, you are. Sound like Yoda, right? Anyways, this is me being myself, like it or not. So then 3, I want you to act as if. Act as if. Act as if you are that leader and see what happens. Just try it. You already tried being the imposter. And how did that feel? Not so great, right? It's nerve-wracking. So just try it. Act as if. What would the leader you want to be do right now? The leader you want to be will click the link in the description and register for our next Tammy Brain session. So we do a pop-up at least once a month, sometimes more. You could be a part of it, but you could just join our community. That way you'll know when we do our pop-ups, because we like to keep it light and easy. I love being myself. I get paid for being myself. I can show you how to get paid for being yourself. That, to me, is what it's all about. Feels so good. So check the link in the description, because You can join our community. And when you join our free community, we'll pour this and even more out for you. You get to text and ask some questions, and we'll answer them. In the meantime, if you want to check out our website, go to presidentiallifestyle.com. But remember, we'll be here every Monday. So I'll see you next week, and I am so looking forward to it. And you can put a comment below if you want and tell me what kind of leader you want to be.